I was doing a brake video a while back and someone saw me grease my brake caliper slide pins with this high temp disc brake wheel bearing grease. Is that bad? Is this stuff unsafe for rubber? Is it going to make the rubber grommets swell? This is the type of caliper I was greasing. An S5 Audi caliper is in my hand. It's got a single piston and it's got slide pins with rubber grommets. They should be greased at every brake job. I don't think I necessarily have the interest on my channel to do a deep dive into grease, but I did learn a lot from this excursion. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. So this is the specific brake grease. Is this better than everything else? Does everything else harm rubber? I'm not going to read the whole thing, but most of these greases won't say a single thing about rubber, but this one specifically says that it's safe for rubber. Now bear with me because I'm going to make a few points. Are any other greases safe for rubber despite them not saying so? Some ball joints are going to have grease fittings that you can periodically squirt some more grease in there during a service interval. There's grease underneath this boot on this drive shaft, this CV axle. See, that one's busted. Single piston, and it's got slide pins with rubber grommets. They should be greased at every brake job. Some sway bar end links have greasable zerks. Some U-joints have greasable zerks. Many front-end steering components also have a grease zerk. The thing they have in common is they all have rubber boots. Now there's a big controversy about petroleum-based greases. For instance, if you used the wrong grease when you're replacing this half-shaft boot, it could potentially make this new boot swell and get damaged more quickly. So what grease do you use? Not a single one of these greases said it was unsafe for rubber, so what is it that you actually look for? The main controversy about using the different types of greases is, well, first off, you don't want to mix them together. And there's different formulas for different purposes. And specifically for caliper slide pins, the argument is that's a petroleum-based product that's going to swell the rubber boot. Well, I threw out this thing about ball joints and steering components like tie rod ends. Theoretically, if you think about it, no one said this in the comments, but that's supposed to go on the top of the joint. The top of the ball joint is usually some type of plastic type material like a polymer bearing. So this particular grease, like most greases I've found, do not specify that it's for CV axle joints. Now, in the interest of keeping this short and sweet, I'm not going to explain all the different additives and get into specifics. I'm just going to say that the only people that really showed on the back of their can that it was okay for everything, including CV axles, was Valvoline. I would prefer to buy Mobil 1. I'm going to get synthetic stuff. I'm a synthetic believer. So I would buy the Mobil 1 if it said on the back that it was okay for everything, including CV axles, but it doesn't. Only Valvoline and a few other people say that. I would just trust the stuff that says what you're using it for on the back. So all of these Valvoline cans had this same message at the bottom. Recommended for use in all wheel bearings, chassis, suspension, steering linkage, universal joints, and constant velocity joints. So if it's for constant velocity joints, that means it's rubber safe because those half shafts. There's grease underneath this boot on this drive shaft, this CV axle. See, that one's busted. Now, if you want to be real specific, I found a lot of these different packets that are specifically for CV axle grease, but they say they can be used for wheel bearings and other purposes as well.